Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Launch Sequence podcast. It's a little bit of a surprise episode. We've got a special bonus here on episode 92. A couple things came out this last week. We have seen a little bit of hubbub about possible cheating and hacking in Star Citizen, and there's been a lot of discourse. And I wanted to bring in one of the folks who have actually discovered and shed some light on this to talk a little bit more about it. Talk about what people can do when they run into it or think they may have run into it, and talk about ways that maybe we shouldn't be responding to this stuff. So, 11's Hangar, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Not a problem, man. Thanks for having me. I'm doing all right.
Cool. So you were kind of, I think, the first person to really put light towards this for the community. You put out a video about this in December. I'll link that down below for anybody who's watching or listening. But you have been looking into this for a while. Can you give us some background as to why you were looking into it? What that had to do with what you were doing in terms of content creation?
So my focus on my channel on YouTube is like pretty much like atmospheric combat. But that kind of came later. I just enjoyed Star Citizen. I enjoy flying the ships. So I would fly them around all the time, and I just started noticing things happen with specific people. Specific people I'd run into in the verse like a few times a week, and it just seemed odd. But I was new to the game, so I couldn't really put anything to it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still learning. And so after about 6 months, and mind you, this is 2018, so we're talking around June 2018.
Okay.
I was a lot better than when I started, which was like December 2017, and started seeing just things that were off, and then DPS calculator was great because it gave me some hard numbers as to what was supposed to be happening. And I saw just things that were outside of that. And being that I was still relatively new, I reached out to the people that I knew at the time. So I would say, hey, do you guys know anything? Like, do people cheat in this game or anything like that? And things started getting really weird. The responses were weird, and I would get. It wasn't necessarily like somebody just saying no. It would be no coupled with like, we don't talk about that, and we don't put that kind of stuff out there because it'd be detrimental to the game and you shouldn't really like say anything about it. And I didn't think anything of it. These were the guys that kind of showed me how to do what I was doing. I let it ride. It started to increase. I started to see it more. I was getting my own team. We were going out there. I was seeing it more and more and more. And I'd ask about it in chat, in general chat, and I'd get the same response. I said something to it about it on the subreddit. I'd get the same response. And I'm kind of like, it's odd because what I noticed is that the response that I got from everybody was the same. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It was almost as if there was a thing that you say. If somebody asks you about cheats, you tell them this. And after I had heard that several times, I'm like, nah, there's got to be more to it. So I started digging. And, the video that I put up was the fruit of over a year of digging and talking and figuring things out because what I realized was I would assume that if people weren't aware of it, me saying something about it wasn't enough. It just clearly wasn't enough at all. So that led me to actually trying to see if I could find proof that didn't
So,
require me having to explain it. You know what I mean?
yeah. So this was something you were noticing all the way back in 2018, you said.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing Star Citizen?
I pledged in 2014. I got into it regularly at the end of 2017,
Okay.
and I've been playing it that's almost every day. Even if it's for an hour or so. But I've been flying the ships and stuff, and what it's 2023 now, so it's been
Put
a
some
while.
hours into it. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I got
Um,
some time, man.
when did you start creating content for the game?
Now I started creating content probably around I think 2020. I stream with my friends and like I would make like little videos like what did I call them? Like they were like ship reviews. And I put them up on a rotating platform and I put up all the information on like the components and things like that. And you know, I I appreciate the ships. I enjoy them, so it
Yeah.
was something just cool to make and then watch. And then I was like, hey, maybe I'll put them on YouTube. and that just kind of progressed into what it is now. Like breaking down combat scenarios, and I use virtual reality. I have a suite that I built inside of VR, and I use that to actually break down engagements to explain what I was doing, what I could have done, what the opponent was doing, what they could have done, things like that. And so I'm in situation with combat a lot, which is why I think I was seeing what I was seeing so much.
Yeah.
And it kind of sidetracked me. You know what I mean? Like I'm like I kind of got to get to the bottom of this because it's definitely happening. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So you started out making content for the combat and PvP kind of stuff and just informative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then this stuff started coming up and it kind of hijacked your direction, or were you keeping up with the PvP stuff at the same time?
It kind of hijacked my direction because the frequency started to increase. You know what I mean? I'd see something like oh, we're down at Daymar. We'll give whoever a million, whatever AUEC if you can come take us out. And it's like I'd sit there and I'd watch the chat, and I'd see people in chat talking about, oh, will this happen and oh, will that happen? And there were specific things that I was looking for because by this time I knew, you know what I mean? I knew what it was that was happening. And it's unfortunate that if you don't know what you're looking at, it's hard to explain. So
Hmm.
chat turns into arguments, accusations, people going back and forth.
Yeah.
And I would go down and just record with no intentions of trying to win. I would just fly down, get into it, record, look around, go in a third person, see what it was that was going on, see if I can kind of, record enough to of consistent fire to check the fire rate against what I knew that it should be,
Hmm.
maneuverability, speed, top speed, things like that, just to kind of check. But even still, it wasn't enough. It's just my recording. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm sure people that have played Star Citizen remember seeing that. It was come down to Daymar, we'll do this. Come down to Selling, I'll give you this. And more recently, I think it's been Hurston. You have to pay to leave, you have to pay to get in Everest Harbor. And then you go out there. There's one guy. There's 10 ships, and they're dusted. He doesn't have a scratch on him. I'm sure people have been in. I'm sure people have seen it. Like I've been in the game, watching the chat, seeing people talk about like I don't understand how that happened.
Yeah.
And usually the responses they get is get good or desync or poor hit registration. And granted, those are real things. They
Yeah.
are,
Yes.
which
Yes.
and they're awesome things to have if you're cheating because you have plenty viable excuses that you can use. Who can really say
So
anything to that?
So that's a good point because this is a glitchy game.
Oh
Now I
yeah.
wanna start this whole talk off with the idea for everybody in the audience, really, that this isn't about galvanizing the community. It's not telling you to go out and do these things, record people, accuse people in chat. We all know that can happen, and we've seen how it goes. This is going to be more about informing folks in the community about what's possible and why this kind of stuff might happen and what you can do when it does happen. So you just mentioned like there is a lot of desync, there's a lot of bugs and stuff that happens that like sometimes might come off to cheats, and we see people all the time in global chat throwing out accusations of cheating when they run into that kind of stuff. How were you able to get past making a false accusation based on glitching and actually find the cheats?
To be honest with you, I have people that are in places that they probably shouldn't be feeding me information, you know?
Hmm.
And I can say that now because I have people that there are people that cheat that talk to me regularly because they don't know that I know. You know what I mean? And I would say, and I'll say this to the community, what can you do? Submit it to CIG. You don't have to say anything in chat. You don't have to have whatever proof you think you have. It doesn't need to be acknowledged by anybody in the chat. Send it to CI, send it to them. You know what I mean? It's like the more they see it, because they know what it looks like. They do at this point. And it eliminates those arguments in chat because it really brings down it it's bad for new players, one. It brings down morale. We've got enough wrong with Star Citizen to be adding to trying to have argue like you're not gonna get to a bottom of an argument. It's not gonna be a winner, especially online. It's just not gonna happen that way.
Yeah.
So And I realize, emotions get involved and it can be difficult, but it's like if you really, really wanna help out, like, it's probably the best thing that you can do at this point outside of anything else.
And where would somebody submit? Is that the issue council?
They can go to so you know how you submit a, ticket for, like, having an issue? Like, say something's wrong with your account, like, maybe you go to concierge and
Yeah.
you submit a ticket there. So, that way. There is if you go to your account and settings or go into Spectrum, it'll take you to, like, that customer service page. You can submit it there. I think the issue is with issue council, it's like it's more of a issues that we're discussing and working on as far as CIG is concerned.
Mhm.
I really feel like the cheating thing is something that is looked at by a different department. And again, I don't work there, so I don't know exactly what they have, but I know that not looked at the same way as issue council because this is the issue that it's not a specific ship issue. You know what I mean? It's more of a something that's affecting the game outside of what CIG is working on. They're not working on cheats. They're not working on making the game in a way that you can manipulate these things.
Yeah, it's
You know
not
what I mean?
GTA.
They're trying to fix. They're trying to fix the bugs. So, and
Yeah.
I think they've got like a player relations thing where you can report players and stuff like that. And I'd say have proof. It helps. I also think that the videos that I've released, like I did one, I think it's been 2 years, and then I did one, the one recently, and I even did a dissection video kinda showing what it looks like. But at the end of the day, it's like, unless you know, it's really hard with video, but it's better than nothing. And
Yeah.
it's better than arguing in general chat.
Yeah. And like you said, nobody needs to acknowledge you in general chat. And honestly, CIG doesn't even need to acknowledge you. I think that's something that people miss when you talk about submitting these kinds of things is like you're submitting it not because you expect CIG to do something. It's just data for them, right? In the long term, they kind of need to start to understand the trends of how this is happening.
Well, me personally, I've gone back and forth with that because I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, the game is in alpha,"
Hmm.
and yeah, that's a real thing. But I think the difference with Star Citizen is it's a public alpha tied to a website that has events and ship sales, and though they're pledges, and no, and I don't argue that part. I understand. I fully understand that it is support for the game. But for somebody that goes to the first page of that website, they're not seeing the things that we know. Right? They
Yeah.
could go during Jumptown, they could see Jumptown event, uh, and some ships that are available to participate. You know what I mean? So to the person that hasn't been here the whole time, it's a game. It's a game with cheats in it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what's going on. So as far as I've never received a response from CIG. Like I haven't. And do I feel like I should have one? I was more data collecting and providing hard evidence. I'm sure that they know what to do with it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as it, the state that the game is in, it is put out in a way that draws people in. It's a live service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is a game that is in development, but people are playing it and there are things to purchase.
And
You know what I mean?
and we see the way that the general public will talk about Star Citizen. They'll say, "Hey, it's taken a long time. It's
Yeah.
got a lot of glitches. It costs a lot of money if you decide to make it that way." But a fourth thing that we wouldn't really want to be generally associated with Star Citizen is the fact that it also has a lot of people cheating in it. And I know a lot of people, myself included, haven't run into cheats, or at least not that I've confirmed in any way. But it does start to grow at some point.
And that's the concern because people have said to me, well, not that many people cheat, and you see it in general chat, or if somebody actually does respond to it, oh well, it's not as widespread as you think. You guys don't know what I saw. If it was a minuscule whatever issue, I probably wouldn't even be sitting here.
Hmm.
To be honest with you, Avenger One wouldn't have said anything about it. There would have been nothing to say anything about. It would have been me, 11, trying to blow a small situation out of proportion for views. I could care less. I want to play the game. You know what I mean? I'd love to play the game without cheaters, I'd love for new players to come into the game and have a straight up experience, especially if they're interested in doing combat. You know what I mean? I would. And the manipulation of the game, it's not just combat. Like it's not.
Yeah.
So I can't just go along with, oh well, it kind of is what it is. It isn't. And I also did research. I educated myself on the effects of cheating in the gaming industry, not just the players, but the companies, the developers, and the people playing.
I mean, AntiCheat software sucks. Denuvo is like
Oh
one of
yeah,
the most hated things in the industry.
yeah,
And
and
yeah, I don't want to see. I don't want to see. I know a lot of people were unhappy when the easy anti-cheat was started to be added to Star Citizen. So I know people are already kind of like wary of things that companies do to try and combat that stuff. Um,
mhm.
I guess. I mean, I don't know about this. I'm not a developer, but the better, the more data you can get on cheating, in the same way that you get data on gameplay, the better you can prepare your game for it while you're building it.
Right, and that will be and see, and that would be great if there was no PU for us to be in. It would be irrelevant. You know what I mean? But people are playing a being developed game and being affected by the cheating. And so I'll tell you this. So EAC, when EAC came out, I was at a certain point in my research. I was very excited about it. I was very excited about EAC because I'm like, awesome. They don't even have to say anything because EAC is going to take care of the problem. Within that week, I found information in regards to how to bypass EAC. Within that week, I found old posts talking about the implementation of EAC and what was going to be done to get around it.
Mm.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
And
Like, you know what
that'll
I mean?
so
Like, it really is.
But that's always going to be a thing, right? Every time they come out with something that goes against cheating, the people who are cheating will always have an immediate response to try and get around it. Where do you see that ending? That back and forth? Is it just a perpetual battle between the company and the cheaters?
In the particular case with Star Citizen and our cheat situation currently, there is a way for it to be resolved. And that rests solely on CIG.
Let's talk about the actual cheats that you found. I'm sure people
Mhm.
are, hearing us talk about this and wondering what the heck did people do? What are some of the things that you saw that were just undeniable?
A menu screen that pops up when you access the cheat that allows you teleport options, teleporting anywhere in the verse, Lagrange points, planets, moons, increasing the fire rate of the weapons on your ship, making it so that the capacitors are not affected and you can just fire away, limiting the heat so that overheat doesn't become an issue, having your speed raised above the stated top speed for the ship, having your shields impervious to damage. Let me see what else. Being able to disappear, to not be visible.
Just turn yourself invisible.
Yeah,
Uh, and you have video footage of some of these things. I saw in your video. Definitely,
yeah,
I'm
quite
guessing
a
you
bit,
didn't put all of it in there.
quite a bit. Yeah, there's a lot that only CIG has seen because I wanted to show the public something to bring awareness and say, hey, so I can have something to point at to talk about. I didn't feel it was necessary to expose all that I found to the general public. I didn't think that because at the end of the day, me being part of the general public and the community, what is it that we are going to do? Nothing. We could all make content about it and go back and forth on YouTube and Twitch for the next month. We could do that,
And we will.
but that's not addressing the issue.
Yeah.
So what was done and sent to CIG was specifically for them. I made sure that they had what they needed to resolve the issue.
And that's the main messaging for everybody else who's listening to this, is not to maybe make more content. Like, if you have to put your effort into something when it comes to this, it's communicating that to CIG.
Yes.
Have you noticed that has CIG communicated back to you at all?
No,
And did that discourage you from continuing?
no, and I'll say this. I messaged Yogi on Spectrum, Yogi
Hmm.
Clad, and he said, that's not really my department, but he gave me a direction. I thought that was awesome, that he responded, okay, cool, reach out to this person. Did it discourage me? No. And the reason why is because I wasn't done. I'm still not done. I'm not going to stop presenting information because I need to make sure that I've done all I can. When I saw what I saw in the game all those years ago, and I started finding information, I kind of felt responsible to. You know what I mean? I'm like, what am I gonna just sit on it, and then it's something that we can be upset about in Discord,
Yeah.
amongst my little group of people. No, so let's do something. We want to play the game. We want to see the game. We want to see the game continue to advance. We want them to continue implementing the things that they're working on. So, okay, this jeopardizes that. So let's keep going. And that's what we did. And that's what we continue to do. And what CIG chooses to do with that, it ultimately is on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on them and it has a huge effect on us. So I do, I don't think by any means that they're not taking it seriously. I will say this much. I think I might provide a decent example of the casual gamer coming in here. I don't know about your history, but I've never been heavily involved in MMO. I've never really been that into primarily online games. So as somebody who's been following this game daily, 5, 6 years,
Hmm.
and I don't do much PvP, but like I am in the community. I had no clue any of this was possible. I didn't even think when people used to say, "Oh, I've run into cheating in the game," or "Oh, I've done this," or "Oh, I did that." My only thought was like somebody is. It's kind of funny. Um, Going back to the days of lag switches when we'd be playing multiplayer
Hmm.
games in the
Yeah, yeah.
2000s, and people would make you make your network wouldn't work well. They'd pop you and kill you and you know exactly what happened. That's what I think of when I think of cheating. So I think it's really good that this kind of stuff is getting out a little bit more. Um, Besides the whole point, the whole fact that it might make more people cheat, just there are definitely people like myself who didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah. I mean, in regards to more people cheating, I mean, you could. You'll probably be on the list that CIG has at some point. Like if you watch the video, you're, oh man, this sounds awesome, and I want to see who I can get in contact with, start cheating. I would advise that you probably wouldn't. It would be a bad idea, especially at this point. You might want to stay away from that.
I mean, you have to assume that if you know where the group is, CIG could easily know where the group is and have people, as we've seen from your own situation, have people who are also in that group.
They very well could. Yeah, they very well could. And that could be the reason why there's been no response. But the other thing I thought about is what really would CIG say to me? You know what I mean? If they were doing something, I would say it would make sense that I wouldn't be privy to those details. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
I would like to, I mean, if they did say, hey, this is what's going on, don't say anything, sign this. It would be great peace of mind to know that they were aware, they heard, they saw, and they're doing something. Because I think for me, I just kind of feel like, yeah, we pledged, but we pledged for a reason. And I feel like what they've built and what they have and what they're doing solely is from our dollars, even if it was just 45 of them. You know what I mean? It came from us. So
hmm,
I feel like the and I'll use the word investment lightly, but I'm going to use the word to kind of emphasize what it is that I'm trying to say. I feel like the investment that we made in them, or the promise, or the dream in regards to this game that was supported financially, should be being protected.
yeah. Keep us
I
safe.
I do believe that. Whether we want to call it a pledge, whether we want to call it a no expectation donation, or whatever the case may be, I feel like the money that was put in, regardless of who put it in, regardless of whether it was $45 or $4,500 or even more. I think the investment that had been made in Chris Roberts' dream needs to be protected.
Yeah, I mean,
And cheating and cheating at the level that it is compromises that greatly.
mhm, and it
And
doesn't
these are
even
and you can go look this up. Like, this is not, oh, 11's being all, doom and gloom. Like, go look at the statistics for what happens to games when they become known as cheating, games full of cheaters. Go look and see for yourself. Google it and read it. There's plenty of information out there that goes really in depth about it. There's information out there where they have psychiatrists and psychologists talking about the mindset behind a person that cheats, and they've got a multitude of examples and the scenarios. Because at the end of the day, it is a community issue.
mhm. Somebody's pointing
Cheats,
out in
cheat,
chat,
cheat, cheat.
Titanfall.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Cheats can't do what they do unless you get them. So it's a community issue too, and these particular cheats are for sale. So it's like these cheats can't affect Star Citizen unless people are buying them and using them,
Mhm.
which is why ultimately it falls on CIG.
And I like there's another suggestion in chat here. I think this is something that should also be done with the issue council, but bringing that reporting system into the game, not requiring people to go all the way to the website to do these things because that's a big
It,
jump.
wa-
I
it, wa-
mean,
it's a bit much too because like if it's kind of hard getting through Star Citizen. The launcher, installing the game. Uh, if you use sticks, getting them set up, understanding the controls, turning the hints off because it gets annoying. Whether or not you want to hear the music,
yeah.
getting to your ship, getting in your ship, starting your ship, taking off, remembering to open the door. Like there's enough to the game, and that's not even including the bugs and the other stuff that's wrong. There's enough to the game that it's like, imagine if you had an issue with somebody like that was running cheats, and they were on every time you were on, and you never got to leave a hangar. You know what I mean? Would you feel
Yeah.
like going back to the RSI website and trying to figure out how to
Yeah.
report them? No,
Yeah.
you'd probably just turn the game off, and at least that was the end of that day.
And that same thing goes for glitches. There's probably a
Oh
ton of
yeah,
glitches I would report if it was easier to do so.
oh yeah. Like I mean, like PTU area 18, I was following through the trams, and I had saw the little notes, the patch notes about they were working on tram stuff, and my hair was longer. I'd probably have bald spots, but it's not long enough to get a grip to pull it out. You know what I'm saying? So it works. I just brush it and it works out. But oh man, like sometimes I just spin my chair around backwards and just stare at the wall because it's just like I count backwards from 10, take a few breaths or something like
Mhm.
that. Like it can really drive you nuts. Yeah.
The trams and elevators of Star Citizen have made many folks hairless. It's
Oh yeah, I believe
it's
it.
an epidemic.
Yeah, I believe it.
All right. When you talk about tracking these cheats and the community
Mhm,
involved in them, you mentioned your Discord and you mentioned people coming in and talking about the cheats they've seen. When it
mhm.
comes to sharing awareness about these things and letting people know more about it, do you find that it leads to the people in your community assuming everything is a cheat, or are people still able to view things objectively and you know acknowledge that there might be a glitch or just a lack of skill that leads to them losing a fight?
What you just said is awesome. And yes, the issue is if you don't know what you're looking at, they could be cheating every time. You know what I'm saying? It could be.
Hmm.
For those that are in situations like, let's take Avenger 1 for example. So he is an arena commander, he's in the verse, he's flying, he's fighting all day long. And even though he didn't know what I know, he knew that he was seeing something. You know what I mean? And I feel like it can lead to issues because there's people that have never seen it and have been playing so long that the very mention of it is upsetting because they're saying, I've been playing the game for however many long it's been. I've never seen anything like this. You know what I mean? And you may feel some type of way about somebody saying that, oh, well, there's cheating in the game, or I saw, I saw this. So I feel like, and then specifically in my Discord, it's like we talk a lot. I share a lot. You know what I mean? There's a lot of content that comes up on there that doesn't go out on the YouTube channel because I figured that information is the best weapon, like it
Hmm.
is. If you know and have experience in seeing certain things, it kind of makes it easier conversation. But every Discord is not a PvP Discord.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So That was why I was saying, kind of backtracking on what we were talking about before. If you see something odd, it would be better to record it and submit it than anything else you can do. There's not a conversation that you're going to have that's going to bring a resolution to that situation. And we, at the same time, want to keep morale up, like we do. Like, it's unfortunate that this is going on. I was not happy about what I found. I really wanted to stop making content. I really actually wanted to just stop playing Star Citizen. Like, it the things that I was finding just made it worse and worse and worse and worse. And I thought to myself, well, what if I did just stop? And what if me and Wraith Squad and people at 11's Hangar, and we were the only ones that knew and just never said a word? And then all those new people that come in, all the people that have been playing, the game becomes more popular. More people come in and they're playing the game. More people are cheating. And I kind of felt like it wasn't an option. You know what I mean? It wasn't an option to stop at that point because
Yeah.
I'd hate for somebody to have a experience in Star Citizen before they ever get to see what it is. Before they ever get to see, like the sunrises and sunsets at Hurston, or fly through Area 18, or just go hang out at Microtech, or look at the different ships. Like, there's great things about Star Citizen now, regardless of how the state that it's in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'd hate to, by omittance, participate in that.
And we all know how how difficult Star Citizen can already be to enjoy, to
Exactly.
make work
Mhm,
for you. Um,
mhm.
I understand, like, if you were seeing these kinds of glitches, and especially you before realizing other people knew about them, seeing that, acknowledging that the game is already pretty difficult, and just telling yourself, man, if it's already this hard, and there are some people who are out there getting an upper hand automatically, like, why not just wait until the game is at least finished to try this again? So yeah, I think it can hurt morale a lot.
Yeah, they can.
And
That
really this is about making sure that people get to enjoy the game meant the way it's meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah, because me, like, I'm one of those people. Like, I'm I wanna play the game just as I want it to be done just as badly as everybody else.
Yep.
Like, sometimes you see videos and you're hoping, Jared's gonna say this, and he doesn't, you're like, "Damn, but, I'm still here." You know
Every
what I
week.
mean?
Yeah.
He's gonna say it one day, and we get in Discord and, lie to each other about how soon it's gonna happen, and we keep on going, you know what I mean? We're in it for the long haul, dude. Like,
Yep.
and we can't have like, we can't have this, because imagine if it's to the point where you start to see it. Imagine if cheating is to the point where everybody's seeing it. We can't get there,
Yeah.
especially not in alpha state, especially not in PU, like, with it being how it is. We can't have that now. Like, and I think it's an opportunity that we do have it now to be able to do something about it, because it is so deep rooted and so exploitative of what CIG has done, by these people that make the cheats, that it's almost like a blessing in disguise, because here we are before the game comes out, before a whole bunch of people really know about it, to actually do something and maybe walk away with a little something to put in the back pocket in the event that down the road an issue like this crops up again.
Yeah. This is just it's the Star Citizen process. Like you said, we're here, we're in it, we're following this along with CIG, talking about cheats like this at such an early stage like this is the same as us talking about the quantum economy system. It's the same as us talking about base building or server meshing. This is all about the long-term trend of what's going to happen with this project.
Right.
And I think
Exactly.
it's solid to have moments to be able to discuss it in the midst of all the talk about is 319 getting delayed, is server meshing coming this year, what's the latest
Yeah.
drama.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I appreciate you joining me for this talk, 11's. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or bring up on this topic?
You know, I think this one, even though we were talking about something negative, had a really positive tone. And I feel like some people that maybe had questions, I'm hoping that you got some answers. Like, did you was there something that maybe, because I know you're asking me, but I'm like, was there something that
Yeah.
maybe you're like, I'm gonna hold on to it, and depending on how it goes, I may say this. Like, I feel
Honestly,
like I feel like I kind of shared who I am enough for you to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's not about anybody noticing me or anything like that. It's really like I want to play the game. Like it's really that simple. Like it's the guys I play with. We want to play. We want to share new experience with each other, with new people. Like that's why we're here, and we don't want to threaten. Like it's that simple. You know?
I think sometimes that's missed when it comes to YouTube videos or streaming. The people who are doing that stuff a lot of the times are the same type of people who are viewing that stuff. You're here to play the game. You're
Yeah.
trying to contribute in the way that you can. And honestly, you know what? You say you're not looking for attention, but like, man, you did work for this. You put forward information. You did studies. Like you maintained a community around this. You deserve to get recognition for what you found, not because that's why you did it, but just because like this is a service to the community. Bringing this stuff to light is good. It helps. And like I said, I'm not somebody who would have known that this existed before. And I think this talk between us was, I think it was just good to add some context to how it comes up, where it could go from here, and also what we can do when we find it. I think people should know that it's worth it to bring it up to the parties that need it. That needs to be brought up to. It's worth knowing that it's happening, but you don't need to do anything more than just communicate with CIG. Same as with the glitches.
Yeah. Exactly. I appreciate what you said and thank you. You know, I didn't really start thinking about what this looks like to the community from a viewer standpoint until I was kind of talking to Avenger One. My head's kind of just been down in the research. Like I find, I condense, I verify, I submit. And I lost sight, I think, of the content creation aspect of what I was doing. You know what I mean? It was im- it was something that was important to me,
Hmm.
and I needed to make sure that I understood what I was doing, understood what I was getting into, but also understood it from a business standpoint too. I was not aware of. I don't play a lot of games, like I don't, so I wasn't aware of anti-cheat software and things like that. Like you
Same.
hear about stuff when you played it, but whatever. But I'm like, I went out and educated myself on it. I'm like, because if somebody asks me, I don't want to be telling them what I think. I don't want to be telling them like my rudimentary assessment of what I collected. So I understand how the cheats work. I understand how the game industry works. And there's a conflict there. It's like oil and water. You know what I mean? They can't exist and both prosper.
Yeah.
And Star Citizen is unique. People say, oh, there's cheating in games all the time. Yeah. By the time we see those games, they're completed. Regardless of how not awesome they are when they come out or how many patches they add or season passes to make the game better, we weren't playing the game the whole time they were making it. It wasn't available online. Star Citizen is. Star Citizen can't weather the storm.
Yep.
Not
It's
it's a different situation. It's not like other games. It
yeah.
can't weather the storm. We can't have another 2 to 3 years of development while there's cheating development because the cheats are developing along with the game. And
Yep.
I didn't really, and I will say this: I wasn't as concerned until I saw conversations talking about cheats that would be available in 318. 318 is not live. It's not, but cheats are being worked on for it. You know what I mean? Something wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's a cause for concern.
It is, yeah. And it's like you said, it's a weird situation, just like with the glitches, with the updates, with the way the game is not complete as we play it. Star Citizen is unique. So, adding some context to this, I think, was really good. So,
Mhm.
thank you so much for coming in today, man. Like I
Yeah,
do
thank
with
you, man.
every episode, I want to give you a chance to let people know where they might be able to find you, find the video that you made or your content.
Yeah, if you type in 11's Hangar in YouTube, you should see a little icon come up. Looks like two ones with a dash in the middle on YouTube. It's on the front page. And I have VR analysis going over combat and things like that. You can check me out there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Links to the Discord are in there too. If you want to drop in and say hey and hang out with us sometime, that's cool too.
Cool.
We're here.
And we'll have those links for everybody who's watching down below. But I would like to thank you all for dropping by this special episode of the Launch Sequence podcast. Appreciate everybody who came in live to listen, and anybody who's watching on YouTube or listening on audio platforms ad-free. Thanks again one last time, 11's, for coming in here. I think you shed some good light. Thank you. You too, man. Catch you later.
All right. Peace.